Hey everybody, Coach O'Connor here. It is a Wednesday evening. Whew. Been running around the state and actually took a little jog tonight in Frankfurt, walked the pier, met some cool people out there, and now I'm just going to do a quick video. And I want to talk to you today about a variation of the Disney creativity strategy. You've probably heard of Disney. It was actually started by Walter Disney. Walt Disney and his brother Roy, and they built a heck of a company, and they did some great things. When I was growing up, we used to watch Sunday night, Wonderful World of Disney, and it would be in Technicolor. It was just an amazing time to grow up in the 60s and to watch that. And not only did he make great movies, but he also created a theme park, Disneyland and Disney World, and all these phenomenal dreams that he had. So we're going to tap into his creativity strategy and kind of how that whole company works and how this genius creative strategy you can use. So here it is. First thing you've got to do is you have to have a dream, something you want to do. And for me, my dreaming physiology is a little different than like my walking and talking. If I'm dreaming and I'm getting creative, I kind of turn my head and I make a little frame like this, and I kind of look at my dream in there. And I can get pretty creative on a dream. I can just dream something like that. And so that's the first position I want to introduce you to is called the dreamer. The second position is really called the doer or the realist. That's the ABC. That's the guy that's going to get it done. That physiology is completely different than the dreamer. For me, that physiology takes on. I remember one time I was tearing down a house, and the excavating company rode by me and said, "We can do it today if you'll detach the structure from your other structure." And I immediately spun around. I ran, changed my clothes, plugged in a saw. I got up on the roof and I was cutting the joists with a saw, and I was taking the sledgehammer and I was smacking the roof trusses away from the side of the building I was going to keep. And that's kind of my realist or my doer physiology. It's literally like I can imagine just picking up a sledgehammer and smacking the things. That's a different physiology than the dreamer. So you've got two positions that I've introduced you to, the dreamer, the doer, or the realist. And the third one is the critic or the spoiler. And that physiology, you might have seen this before. You might even have done this to, one of your workers or your children or something, or this to yourself. So the spoiler or the critic physiology is different. It's completely different. So why do I bring these up? So I'll tell you a little story. Walt pulls in the Burbank studio. It's kind of rainy. Usually it's sunny there, but it was raining this day, and his top was down in his Mercedes, and it's pouring, and all the people that worked for him saw him pull into the lot, and they said, "Hurry up and get in the building before he sees us. If he sees us, he's going to give us a project to do." Because they're the doers. They're the realists. They're going to do the ABC. They're going to write down 1, 2, 3. This is what we got to do. So he sees them, and Walt says, "Fellas, wait." And he pulls into the parking lot, doesn't put the top up, but he just gets out of his car and he walks up to the guys and he says, "How are you fellas enjoying the fresh rain?" And they're like, "Fine, Walt. I mean, this rain is fine. It's just great to have fresh rain." And then he looks over and he plucks a leaf off of a bush. And it has a little raindrop on it. He hands it to one of them. Now he's the dreamer. He's about to hand it to a realist or a doer. And he hands it to the realist, and he says to the realist, "We should have a restaurant inside a bubble." Now, this man has to go into his office and draw ABC. This is how we're going to do this restaurant in a bubble, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then he's going to take that plan, not Walt's dream, not Walt. He's going to take the plan, the ABCs, down to a completely different department where guys like this are, the spoilers or the critics, And they're going to say, what's missing? Why won't it work? Why won't it work? And they'll say, this is why it won't work. There's not enough air pressure to hold the bubble up, blah, blah, blah. And he gives that feedback back to the dreamer. And then Walt goes, whoosh, dreams it again. He says, well, what if we cut the bubble in half and we float it on water? Then the realist runs down, he writes that plan down, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is how we're going to do it. They take that plan to the critic. And then the critic says, what's missing and why won't it work? And they're saying, everything looks pretty good, but maybe instead of a bubble, you might want to put some other theme. And then he gets back to the dreamer, and the dreamer goes, hey, what if we have teacups? And they float around the river. And then he goes to the doer, and the doer writes down A, B, C, D, and then he gives it to the critic, and the critic says, that will work. That's the Disney creativity strategy. Now, it was all in Walt's head at one time. He did all three. Then he set the company up to do it that way. And I'm asking you, instead of shooting down your idea the minute you come up with one, or the dream that your kid has, instead of squashing the dream, go to the doer, go to the plan and write the plan out. Then step into the critic role and say, okay, this is why it won't work. Then give it back to the dreamer and let it go through this process. I'd say, if you can do 3 rounds or 4 rounds or however many it takes to where everybody's on board, you'll find untapped genius in this creativity strategy. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It's called the Disney Creativity Strategy. Dreamer, the doer or the realist, and then the critic, in that order. It's very important that you use that order. Critics should not touch the dream, should not touch the dreamer, only will criticize and look at the plan that the realist comes up with. And you work that circuitry until everybody gives a thumbs up. Have a great evening.